Hello, everyone. And I will ask you to type in the chat if you can hear me, if you can see me, and if you can see the presentation. Okay, that's perfect. Thank you very much. And today we will have a touch on the topic media literacy in the ESL teaching. My name is Tatiana Shalepko. I'm Cambridge ELT consultant. And that's the topic for today. So, the first thing I will ask you is how much time do you spend on media every day? I will ask you to type that in the chat. Okay, we have 5, 4, 6, 8, 3 hours and a lot. That is a lot. Can you imagine what's that in the lifetime? It's even more than we sleep that we spend on media. What do you think are these numbers? The first number you can see on the screen. Salary, no. Population, yes, exactly. This is the population on the Earth in 2024. This is how many people live now, how many people there are on our planet. And what's this number? Adults, very close. People using internet, almost. These, okay. These are, this is the number of people who have some telephone headset or some access to the telephone. And this is actually 69.7% of the whole population who have telephones or other communication devices. 5.44 billion people out of these are using internet. And this is 67% of all the population all around the world who are using the internet. So you can imagine how the information works these days. And if we look at the whole population, we can say that every even more than 2 people out of 3 are now online at this moment. So here now all of us are online, and if there is a person who is not online, this is very unique. This is someone out of 30% of the whole population who are not online at the moment, together with the toddlers, with the newborns, and with very old people. So actually, every adult, every teenager is now online. And on average, this is the recent research from 2024, from April. On average, an adult spends over 6 hours using the internet. And then we have social media, television, reading news, reading newspapers would be 2 hours. And I can really rely on this information because a lot of people now are listening to the podcasts, to music stream platforms, and so on. But reading press is very popular in Europe. For example, those of you who visited European countries might admit that yes, people do buy newspapers, go to some cafe in the morning and actually read the newspaper. And this is about the culture. Uh, Most probably in Ukraine, this is not a culture, not thing to do here, because there are different reasons, but mostly because we have this idea stuck in our heads that, which is most probably true and has its reasons, that whatever is written in the newspapers might be not true. And this makes sense because of the culture of making news in previous century in our country. But if we look at an average adult person, they spend up to 10 hours per day using different kinds of media. And if we think of what is media, well, media, as we are all linguists here, we know that media is a plural for medium. And medium is a substance or method in which something is communicated, kind of vehicle for a message. So media medium would be not only the newspapers, not only television, TV news and shows and so on, not only social media podcasts, but theater is also medium. A painting in a museum, it's also a medium of some kind of message. A book, a lesson at school is also a medium. So we spend most of our lives being somehow influenced by different kinds of media. And if we think about it, how much time do we spend for media? We spend all the time when we're awake, in a way. We spend it in some kind of media. We communicate all the time, and some messages are communicated to us all the time. But if we reconcile where is social media, where is useful media, where is junk media, then we will have very different numbers. And if we compare how much time we spend with the book to how much time we spend with our phone, it will also be different for everyone. But what we want to do is to give a proper example to our students. So we spend our time with more proper communication than just browsing and consuming information, but being actual users of this information. Being a consumer and a user of information is also very different. And we also have these notions as media and the media. Right? Media is all the methods of communication, and the media, it's more appropriate to say so if it's some kind of communication resource that spreads or broadcasts news and opinions. Mostly we talk about news channels, TV channels, or press, and so on. So this would be the media. Then we have media where we can also put museums, books, learning, and so on. And for both of these, we need media literacy. Media literacy is a field of studies that appeared not very long ago in 1960s, and it's defined by the National Academy of Media Studies as an ability to access, analyze, evaluate, create, and act using all forms of communication. What does it remind you? Which life skills can you spot here in this definition? I will ask you to type that in the chat. Okay, digital literacy, yep. Critical thinking, done. Cognitive skills, yes. Collaboration, thank you. Creativity, yes. Social skills, yes. Lifelong learning, exactly. Actually, all the soft skills, right? Yeah. Creativity, analyzing, yes, yes. All of them. Thank you, Natalia. All of them. Right. And if we look closer at this field of studies, media literacy comprises and overlaps many different theories and subjects, from critical thinking that you already mentioned, psychology, linguistics, and ethics in technology. Technology is very important part here because if we think about media 100 years ago, this would be radio and newspaper, and now it's different kinds of technology, but it's always connected to technology. If some of you saw my webinar about preparing students to communication era, we were talking about how technology and communication are connected. And if first communication was through pictures or in the engraved in the caves, then with the development of literacy and written word, the development of technology, they overlap and they change the way we communicate. So it's always connected to technology, and sometimes it's even caused by the new breakthroughs in technology. And one of the most important things here to me is ethics, something we didn't mention because we're talking a lot about critical thinking, about creativity, and these are all very important. But ethics of communication, ethics in media is the most important thing. And these days, the most underestimated thing. Yeah, we teach how to think critically, how to be critical about different sources, how to analyze sources. But we all have to do this from the background of the ethics. And keeping that in mind, we need to teach how to work with different kinds of media. And when we talk about media literacy, and I just showed you this ability to access, analyze, evaluate, create, and act. So we should ask ourselves, with this in mind, we should ask ourselves this question from the position of the ethics. Access. Uh, what did I use to get into this or that source of information? Did I use my personal data? Did I share it somewhere with in some inappropriate way, for example? Did I think whether this source of information is trustworthy? Did I look at different sources of information to see whether it's a fact or not? When I create a post on social media, do I think about how responsible I am in front of those who are going to read this post? What message am I carrying in the public space? And what do I do with all this information? Very important question. And when we think of all these questions, we do not just consume information, we search for information. And this is quite a Jungian approach to how you live, because we can live a reactive life and we can live active life. And if it's reactive life, we just browse the internet, we look at some opinions, facts, do not reconcile them maybe, and we just browse and consume information that is already there. But if we look at this from the active side, when we live active life, we have a question in our head and we start browsing this specific question. And that's where we need to think about access, analysis, evaluation, what we do with this information that we browse. But for that, we need to have a question. And whenever you look at your phone again, ask yourself a question whether you do have this question. What are you looking for? What exactly are you checking? What do you want to see there? And this is something to teach our students, to have a question before we consume some kind of information, to have a reason why we go there, to have an aim, and from there we can this question falls into these 5 points of media literacy. And in media literacy, like the first question, the first lesson would be reconciling the media messages and the media effects. Media messages, these are the values and ideas that are promoted by media, the things that get put into these messages. And media effects, the influences and consequences on the audiences. And this is also a very important thing, because this is how we, again, reconcile facts and opinions. And from here, we also need to remember that not every message is communicated properly, and there are so many misunderstandings. Think about how often you have misunderstandings with another person when you are just texting to each other, when you cannot see the emotional part of the communication, but you just see the text, you just see the message, and you think that the person means this, but the person means that. And according to your background, to your cultural background, to your knowledge about this person, you might decode it in a different way. For example, whenever someone sends me a caps lock message saying okay, and then full stop in the end, I think that this is aggressive, right? But it doesn't have to be. For example, when you are talking to a person with a different cultural background, for example, from Scandinavian countries, they would never use, well, maybe not these days, but most of the times they don't use any emojis. They just write the text. And you think that, oh, what did I do wrong? There is no no emoji at the end, but this is the way they communicate. They just send the message and they expect you to receive it as it is. And so every message in the media or elsewhere, it brings something. There is an idea encoded into this message. But according to our cultural background, emotional state, and so on, we encode a completely different thing sometimes. Sometimes we decode the same thing. And I'm not talking about some ciphering and deciphering. This is just how the message meets our cultural background. There is such an idea as textual determinism, that the message's meaning is inevitably sent and received in its entirety, just as intended every time. And this is quite impossible. For example, those of you who have seen the TV show Friends, you most probably recognize this meme. Do you remember who it was? Yeah. Now I see who watched Friends. I rewatch them from time to time. And this is my favorite example when the person says, I'm fine, and not being, definitely not being fine. So we receive a message from the whole background of our history with the person. We receive a message from the body language, we receive a message from the tone of speech, from the key, from the pitch, from the emotions we can spot, but the text is not always what it means. And if we enlarge the scale of how different messages can be interpreted, it's a complete mess. So we need to somehow be critical and understandable in this mess. And for that, we need media literacy. We need understanding of ethics, first of all, psychology, linguistics, critical thinking, creativity, and other soft skills. So, uh, and a little bit more on history. So, if previously the main source, the main responsibility on spreading a word was on these establishments that we now call churches, this institution, not establishment, institution that we call church. And the main ideas were communicated there. Those were places where people get together. The whole village or the whole city comes to one place, and we have some messages communicated to us. We have ideas put in our heads, and then we go on with these ideas and keep ourselves as a community. And we still see that, we still have it in different parts of Ukraine, more or less, but it's still a very important source of information for many people. But together with that, especially in the previous century, the medium of information changed. And even though it might now seem fun, but is there anyone who recognizes this person? If there is, I will continue. Do you know who's this? Yeah, this is Les Kurbas. I'm I put his portrait here for you just to I don't know, remember his face, but also because theater used to be one of the strongest medium of how government would communicate ideas to the people. And people would gather in theaters. And of course, this is not new. This is not something we invented in Ukraine. This was in the times of Shakespeare as well. But in 20th century, and especially in on our territory, that was quite the case, because even the news were spread through theaters, through some theatrical pieces, and not only the news, but the opinions and the way people should think about the world were spread through theaters, through culture, and culture became one of the main not culture, art became one of the main media of manipulating people's consciousness. And for example, Les Kurbas had this idea and the message that he carried through all of his shows and performances, that and now the most important and the biggest value is the machine. And we can, of course, debate about how good this message was, how bad, but of course his art was unique and beautiful, but the message was like that. His philosophy was that the biggest value is the machine. And that's why all of his performances looked so modern and so influenced by uh, different cubist and avant-garde movements and so on. But the point is that, yeah, through theater, everything would be communicated. Now, our main social platform would be very spread all over the internet, and it's much easier to get lost in this information, and we kind of have no choice but to consume more and more information every day, because to go to the theater you have to choose between staying at home and go to the theater. But we are now so connected to our devices, because this is our main medium of communication. And when we are looking for some news, we all of a sudden get links to some commercials, we get links to some other news, and we have no choice but we see that. And if we see that, we have to evaluate, analyze, and understand what do we do with what we see. And of course, everything starts from school. So uh, I showed you this before. This is uh, the biography, that ChatGPT created, and this is the biography of Oles Gonchar, and the whole biography is a fake, and this was communicated from well-known TV channel, from well-known media resource, and it's fake. And of course, there were people who analyzed this information and saw that, aha, there is something wrong with it. Too many strange facts. And if you haven't seen it, there is a link on the internet, a Les Hanchar biography on the new channel, and that was quite a huge case in the journalists' circles, on how we use GPT chat, for example, and the ability to access, to evaluate, analyze information, and act accordingly was crucial for those who consumed this information. And so we need to teach our students to check the facts all the time, and also to give proper instructions to generative artificial intelligence not devices, but technology. For example, if I ask GPT chat, tell me biography of Oles Hanchar, it will tell me a story that he creates. And if I ask him, give me facts from his biography, then it will work most probably. So navigating information is quite a skill that needs a little bit more of meta language, and using these instruments is good, but you need to be a little bit smarter than these instruments to use them properly. And that's why artificial intelligence will never win in teaching, because teachers are supposed to be a little bit smarter with navigating information, not storing information, but navigating it. And I often use this resource, maybe I've shown you this before, where you can compare how different news, how it's covered in different resources, and the most reliable ones, the most popular ones, and so on are shown here. And you can put different topics here in this ground news and see how it works. At the same time, since this has become quite an issue in Ukraine, being having proper media literacy skills, there is a wonderful resource, the National Project, Media Literacy Project, and there are also slots for educators and students. Maybe you've passed this test. If you haven't, you should try it out. There recently has been the Ukrainian media literacy lesson, and also there is such a test. When you pass this test, you will get links to different media literacy resources created by the Ministry of Culture and Information Politics and the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine, and so on. So if you're interested, I will, of course, share the link with you later. And when we are talking about media literacy in English as the second language teaching, we need to incorporate it into our lessons for sure, because if we think about what skills media literacy requires, we have everything in English lesson. Do you remember the 5 skills I showed you on the previous slides? Let's try to recreate them here in the chat. The 5 skills that media literacy requires. The ones I showed you before. Analyzing, yes. Analyzing 1. Act 2. Create, okay. Evaluate and access. Thank you very much. Yes, we all together we remember all 5 of those. Thanks. And again, these are the questions to ask ourselves after we ask a question, what am I looking for? All right. So I will show you a few examples. This is an example from Think Second Edition. This is the example of a project task, writing a questionnaire about tech habits. In this project, students are required to prepare for the project plan and then put together the whole presentation, the whole questionnaire, and present this questionnaire to the class and to the teacher, wherever they present it. When we plan a project, when we work on a digital project, there is always an important search rule that these are the questions, 6 more questions to ask ourselves when we go searching for some kind of data. So what S goes for what is the source of the information, whether it's reliable. Then E goes for evidence. What evidence is there to support this information? Who is the author and why has he written this? Recency, how recent is this source and how do I know when this or that information was published? Because very often it's easy to manipulate any kind of information that was, for example, take a photo from 10 years ago and then post it these days and say something that this is what happened yesterday, and it changes the whole understanding of a message. So recency is really important. Clarity, is this information clear? Does it really make sense? And helpfulness, is this information helpful for this particular topic that I am doing my research on? So these search formula is something to keep in mind and make it your algorithm every time you go browsing, or even every time you check your news feed on Facebook, for example. What is the source? What is the evidence? Who is the author? How long ago it was published? How clear and how helpful it is for me and for what I'm looking for. And again, I will remind you this every time. We need to have a question in our head when we go searching for something. So we teach our students these search formula, and we ask them to plan the questionnaire, for example. And here is the plan of this questionnaire. Ask students about their mobile phones, apps, social media, watching videos. So this is to choose the topic and to form the questions according to their topic. And then when students have their ideas, they make a list of several questions and they post these questions in the instrument Collaboration Plus. This is a digital instrument incorporated into the Think course. Then we ask students to write this questionnaire, and they ask 4 or 5 people. In this way, we teach students to collect data and to see what the source of data is. And in this way, we also teach them to understand how different statistics work and how different facts turn out to be in the news, and to ask proper questions, to be critical about different facts and different numbers they see on the internet. Then we ask students to record the results, share the results with the group, and create a diagram. In the end, we ask students to prepare a summary of their research for the teacher. And here are a few questions. What questions did you ask in the survey? How many people were taking part in this survey? What was surprising in the results? And do you think it might change something? Why and why not? So we ask students to be critical about their own survey as well, and record this piece of information, make kind of podcast about their survey, about their research on, for example, how people use social media within their classroom. And in the end, they present the results, they discuss the results, they think whether the communication was good, how generally the project went, and how important was having a question before they searched for something, before they did their research. And there are more projects like this. This one is about survey within the group, but there are also projects about, for example, create a podcast about a historical event. In this case, students should go online and search information about a historical event in different sources, compare these sources, compare different contradicting thoughts, and so on. And this would be called also mediation activities. You know that recently the Council of Europe published a companion volume to the Common European Framework of References, and this companion volume includes mediation strategies and activities, and also the framework of mediation on different levels, starting from A1 to C2. And explaining data in graphs and diagrams is also a mediation activity where students have some information they researched and they can make sense out of it. So in this activity, which can also be done not in the Collaboration Plus, but on a piece of paper. In this research, students need to mediate the results of their research, and this one is about the social media, and to talk about the graph and the data they collected. And in this case, we, with such tasks, we teach our students to create, to be this media, to create a piece of information from the data they researched, and to see how the whole process works. There are a lot of tasks like this in different Cambridge materials, of course. This is just one simple example. But when you approach these tasks from the point of view of media literacy, it will teach your students a lot. And of course, first of all, you put ethics into the center. Here, where is the ethics? The ethics is that we made a survey among different participants of the group, asking them questions and not changing any kind of information, but collecting this information and then presenting it in a way we collected it accordingly, without changing the information on any step. And faking the information would be just unethical. So they have to go through all these steps. And when our students understand how the trustworthy results are created and how the results are faked, they understand how it also works in a bigger world than their classroom. Of course, after this webinar, I will share useful resources with you. These are, this is the brochure on mediation, how it is, what it is, how it works, and how to teach it and assess it. Also, digital literacy brochure with a framework for different age groups, for teenagers, for primary students, for adults and professionals. Which skills we need to have and how to develop them, and which can-do statements there are for digital literacy. I will also share the teenage learners framework for life competencies, and you will find more and more materials in our catalog where we have such courses as Think with the Collaboration Plus and Prepare and Own It, the new course that we are going to try out next season. There are activity cards with digital literacy, the one I showed you with the search formula, and also more Cambridge papers in ELT. So the understanding media or mediation skills you will find in all of the Cambridge courses. The example that I showed you comes from here, Think second edition level 3, which is also level B1 plus, and the instrument, the program I was using is also accessible online from the laptop, from the phone, and from a tablet. It's located on the Cambridge One platform, and if you are interested, you can pass the free courses for teachers, which are how to teach with Presentation Plus, with Cambridge One, and specifically with Think, Prepare, and other Cambridge materials. If you have any questions, you can text me here. And if you want to learn more and order some materials from Cambridge, the Linguist Company is the official distributor of Cambridge University Press, and you can save these phone numbers to learn more and to order something if you wish. So now it's time for questions. If you have any questions, I finally have 5 minutes to talk to you. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for being here today. If you have any comments or suggestions, I would also be thankful. Not very practical today, but if you acquire this search formula, this would be enough for all of us from today. This one: source, evidence, author, recency, clarity, helpfulness. Thank you for being here. Ah, thank you. You're making notes. All right. Since there are no questions, um, I will just hide myself. And I wish you wonderful weekend. Uh, have a great day. Have a good rest, because we are going to start all over on Monday. The next webinar will be in the middle of December.